They're not good enough to start. They're not even good enough to play. But they do talk a good game. So come join Lou and Jose from the sidelines where all the best sports discussions happen anyway. Welcome in to the Benchwarmerz podcast.
Welcome into the program, everybody. I am Lou Ruggieri. That is Jose Ortiz, and this is the Benchwarmerz podcast. Wherever, whenever, and however you happen to be listening, we appreciate you taking some time to spend it with us. We are hopefully making it worth your while. Hour one flew by. Very exciting. We went through the top 5 news stories in the NFL from week 13, according to Jose and myself. We also touched on a bunch of other kind of lesser exciting, interesting NFL news. We played Make No Mistake or Give Me a Break, which is our true-false segment. We had a highlight and lowlight of the week, and even a little moral lesson we got from Nelson Mandela. And you can, if you missed it, you can follow us along on iHeartRadio, their podcasting lineup, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or follow us along on social media. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at the Benchwarmerz podcast, Benchwarmerz with a Z for marketing purposes, at the BW Pod on Twitter, and that same, the Benchwarmerz podcast at yahoo.com if you'd like to send us some love mail, hate mail, et cetera, et cetera. Reviews are always welcome and appreciated. You know, we try hard, so hopefully it shows. And, I don't like pandering, but we need all the help we can get. So that would be helpful. Coming up in a little bit, we have to look ahead to week 14 in the NFL. We have to go over our week 13 picks. But right now, Jose, it's time we have to switch gears because the NBA is right around the corner, and it's very exciting because we're going right in from football right into basketball, and it almost feels like the world's getting back to normal a little bit. Biggest news of the week, I mean, there was a couple of trades. The biggest trade of all was the trade for Russell Westbrook to the Wizards for John Wall and a first-round pick. And, I mean, just right off the bat, I mean, this trade, good, bad, did anybody win this trade?
Well, I think that I picked the Rockets as the winner of the trade. And I realized one thing, that I was being a little disrespectful of Russell Westbrook. He had a great year last year. He had 27 points per game, 7 assists, 7.9 rebounds. And I wouldn't have thought that based on the way he played in the postseason. So I'm wondering if he just wasn't quite healthy enough to be out there.
He did have a quad injury in the bubble.
So that might have been in before that, the 3 seasons before that, 3 consecutive triple doubles, averaged a triple double for 3 consecutive seasons. Still, I just like the idea of getting a first round pick. I don't think that James Harden and Russell Westbrook were really going to work. I just feel like you have 2 ball dominant guys and 2 guys who don't seem to do very well when they don't have the ball in their hands. Like if you're not going to be moving and cutting and you're doing those things, it's kind of just hampering to the offense. That said, I don't think John Wall is an improvement over Russell Westbrook, and he's certainly worse than Russell Westbrook. He hasn't played basketball in like 2 years.
Achilles injury,
yeah. But just from a team direction standpoint, I think is the right move for the Rockets. Get maximum value for Russell Westbrook, and if I'm them, I'm looking to move James Harden as well. I think it's time to blow it up. It's not going to work. You've been knocking on the door with this roster for quite some time. You tried some radical things last year by trying to go small. Still didn't work. It's time to move on.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that I kind of think the Wizards won this trade because John Wall, I mean, is going to make more than LeBron James this year, and that's
the money,
ridiculous. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And for a player who has been, I mean, granted it's an Achilles injury, so it happens and it's unfortunate, but it's still a fact of the game, and that has to be factored in. Somebody who could be injured, could not come back as themselves, is something that you have to factor in. And Russell Westbrook, like you said, averaging 27 points a game. He's in better shape. He's high energy, and I do think that him paired with Bradley Beal feels like a better combination than James Harden and John Wall. And Bradley Beal, by the way, did you know Bradley Beal was second in the league in scoring last season?
I did not know that. I know he had a great year.
James Harden was at 34.3 points per game. Bradley Beal, number 2, 30.5 points per game.
Yeah, I know he had a great year, and then he had a career season, and he's been going up basically every year in points for the most part. I do agree with that because Bradley Beal is more of a perimeter player, and Russell Westbrook, when he's playing smart, likes to attack the basket. So I think that they
kick out.
And kick out. So I think that they could be a nice combination. Maybe the problem is James Harden holds on to the ball too much and makes his decisions too late. But I don't know. I just like it from the Rockets' standpoint of getting a first round pick and moving on.
Yeah, I mean Russell Westbrook, I think is a better player. I think the situation, plus the first round pick might end up could if John Wall is anything close to what he was the last time we saw him play, it might end up being better for the Rockets. But Westbrook, he shot a career best 47% from the field. He had 8 triple doubles, which puts him actually within 35 of Oscar Robertson's career record of 181, which is
remarkable.
Crazy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't know Oscar Robertson had 181 triple doubles. That's insane.
I did know he had a lot. I didn't know he had that many.
Yeah. But, overall, I think the only thing that hurts Russell Westbrook is that I feel like going to the Washington Wizards is sort of like going to the Seattle Mariners in baseball. You just sort of disappear into the ether of the sports nothingness. It's just no one pays attention to you. Everybody forgets about you. Maybe he's a bright enough star where he can bring some spotlight to Washington, but it's just tough. It's just tough to see. But
yeah, people follow winning. Perhaps if they can get something going and they can get winning and playing good basketball, people will start paying attention. But you are right. It's like Siberia.
Yeah. The only other trade, Al Horford is on the move yet again. He was traded to Oklahoma City. Is that right? For a Al Horford plus a 2025 first round pick and a second round pick from this year for Danny Green and a bunch of other stuff. Which I guess Danny Green just did a little flyby in Oklahoma City. He was there for all of a month. That's like a little layover. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, Al Horford is he's probably the best good player ever. He's not great.
Well, I don't know about all that.
He's good.
Yeah, he's good.
But I don't know. This whole, I mean, it seems like a lot for Danny Green, but I don't know.
Well, it's just you want Al Horford. They were just, what did we keep seeing last year? What did I keep saying during this past season when they were in the playoffs or whatever? Tobias Harris, Al Horford, you have two guys who are getting paid like nearly $30 million. And I think Harris is getting paid over $30 million. You had to get rid of one of these guys. You had no roster flexibility. You had to get rid of one of the guys. You're getting a first round pick that's 5 years down the line. You would have to hope that that pick is not going to be, number one overall pick or something like that. So I think it was the right move for the Sixers and the Rockets. The Oklahoma City Thunder. They just keep racking up picks. They have now 17 first round picks through 2026. That's how you rebuild a franchise. Yeah,
I agree. And that's, I think losing Chris Paul is interesting. I think that he provided some veteran leadership, but it seems like, we've seen Oklahoma City draft pretty well over the history. I mean, they might have drafted the most talented team, arguably one of the most talented teams of all time, with 3, Hall of Famers in Russell Westbrook, the aforementioned Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Kevin Durant. So maybe they know something we don't.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll just say about the Thunder. They made the playoffs last year. They made some noise last year, but I think they made the choice organizationally in saying getting to the first round and getting eliminated doesn't mean anything to us. We want to win a championship, and we don't have the roster to win a championship. So we're going to trade in our first round exit this year for potentially something greater 3 or 4 years down the line. Maybe that manifests itself, maybe it doesn't, but that's what they made the decision to do.
Yeah, maybe this time next year we'll be putting Al Horford on our top 10 players list for the last season. Probably not, but it's possible. And speaking of that list, let's move on. I want to get on to our. So we started last week with sort of the introduction to the NBA season. We picked the top 5 NBA players entering this 2021 season. I wanted to have us do round out the top 10 and do players 6 through 10 this week, and just kind of talk a little about, each one, why they are where we put them.
Well, just quickly, just so people who weren't listening last week, just to recap, we both put LeBron James at number 1. And
he's like the free space in the bingo board.
Yeah,
Everybody.
And
has
then we picked our next top 5, and I had Giannis, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Kawhi Leonard, and Damian Lillard. Lou, your picks were after LeBron, Luka Doncic, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, and Kawhi Leonard. So we had very similar lists outside of Luka and Giannis. Do you want to start with your top 5 picks, or should I just go ahead and jump in right now?
Oh, we can go 1-1. Just go back and forth.
For my number 6 guy, this was tougher for me actually than the top 5. But the number 6 person I picked is Anthony Davis. Now he has a ring. Finished second Defensive Player of the Year voting last season.
I picked him 7th, by the way.
I'm sorry?
I picked him 7th, actually.
Oh, okay, he's right there. 24 points per game last year, 24 points per game, 10.4 rebounds per game career average. I think his injury history is a little bit overblown. He plays, he gets nicked up, but he hasn't missed a full season or anything like that. So he's coming off of a 26.1, 9.3 rebound per game season. He's actually my pick for the MVP this year. I think he's going to have a great year and kind of take over the throne as being the best player for the Lakers.
Yeah, and just some nitpicking. So LeBron we put as sort of we took LeBron off the board. So it's our 1 through 5. There's technically it was our top 11, but it's their top 10 not counting LeBron. So just sort of just so the numbers make sense to everybody. Anthony Davis was my 7th pick for a lot of reasons you said, and I think health is going to play a big role. It might be overblown, but I don't know. I mean, we've only seen him really finish out one full season where in that season he had a 3-month break. So it's kind of
a fair point.
It's a real thing, and he's a big man. Big men obviously are prone to injury, it seems like, but when he's playing well, I mean, he's the best player in the game at times, and I think he's somebody to keep an eye on. The number 6, the guy ahead of him I have is Giannis, obviously Antetokounmpo, Greek freak. He was top 5 in scoring and top 3 in rebounds last season, 29.5 points per game and 13.6 rebounds per game. I equated him to Lamar Jackson in the NFL. It seems like he's hit a wall, and I think that this season is going to go a long way in dictating his legacy. I think if the Bucks can at least make the finals, I think that it'll take some of the pressure off. Obviously, winning would take all the pressure off, but I think we're all expecting Giannis to step up in a big way.
I think it's so disrespectful that you have Giannis at 6. I just want to say that it's so disrespectful. The guy is coming off 2 back-to-back MVP awards, just won Defensive Player of the Year last year, the force on both sides of the court. He's a great player, and everything you said is true. He has some flaws, he has some limitations, but there's no one on this list that doesn't have some flaw in their game. And he just needs some more time to figure it out. He's a great player.
I feel the same way about your disrespect to Luka Doncic, actually. So he's going to be I think Luka is my pick for MVP this year.
Yeah. It's funny because Luka's not even my number 7 guy. My number 7 player.
See, now you're just being mean. That's
my number 7 player, I'll get to Luka in a second, but my number 7 player is James Harden. And it's easy to take him for granted. But last year he averaged 34.3 points per game, 7.5 assists, 6.6 rebounds. He's a 3-time defending scoring champion. This guy is a walking scoring machine. I felt that he took a step in the right direction in his efficiency, certainly in the postseason this past year. The one knock against him is usually that his lack of efficiency and his kind of predictability. And I do think that he in the playoffs. The one knock would have in the postseason, I would say, is that it seems that his scoring kind of dips a little bit. It's not like he goes from 34 points a game to 20 points a game, but he goes from 34 to 28. And it's just not, he's not quite that same dynamic offensive force that we get used to in the regular season. I don't know what that's about. I guess teams have found a way. Maybe he's just not getting in as many calls, whatever the case may be. But I just think as far as just looking at his numbers, looking at what he's accomplished in the NBA in his career, I think he has to be at that spot. 7.
Yeah, I have Harden at 10 on my list.
Okay.
Just to touch on him while we're talking about him, I think Harden to me is he's a lot like Giannis in a way. You know, they're regular season monsters. You know,
Yeah.
and it's all great and it's fun to watch during the year. But come playoff time, you know, Harden especially, it seems like he runs out of gas because he puts so much energy into scoring those points because he isn't efficient. You know, he's volume, and it's volume, and he has the ball in his hand more than pretty much anybody else in the league. And I am curious to see what he does and how he plays without Mike D'Antoni and his system. I'm wondering if he's going to change his game at all. Maybe the addition of John Wall actually does something. But I think, you know, James Harden is sort of, it's diminishing returns with James Harden. You know, we've seen it all. He's a great scorer, but again, it's sort of a one-trick pony where it's like, all right, well, we know you're going to hold the ball for 18 seconds and then you're going to take a crappy shot and you might make it. But that's not a winning formula. And we've seen it over and over and over again.
And we've seen it's actually a losing formula. So,
exactly.
It's in fairness, everyone that we've picked, I think anyway, that we'll pick from the 6 to 11 spot or whatever, 7 to 11 spot, is going to be, there are going to be flaws in their game. There's going to be something. And, you know, so my number 8 guy, Luka Doncic, there really isn't a huge hole in his game. He's a great player. He's great at his free throw percentage is not amazing, but great shooter. I mean, already an elite player. What do you have? 28.8 points per game last season, 9.4 rebounds, 8.8 assists, and then got better in the playoffs. The two areas, I think he's a little soft. I think he's a little soft. He gets knocked to the ground a lot. I worry about that long term. I think he can be pushed around a bit. Maybe it's because he's only 21, you know, or 22, whatever. He just hasn't filled out quite. But I just need to see it again. You know, it's just that's the theme with him. He could easily be over a number of these guys, but I've only really seen him be this level of good for 1 year.
Yeah, and so I mean, like I said before, I think Luka's top 5 player for me for sure, and I think he's my MVP candidate. So I think he's going to step up. He's going to take what he's done, which is already great, and make it better. My 8th player actually is none other than Jimmy Butler, and okay. I think Jimmy Butler. You know, I long-standing. I wish we were doing the show a couple years ago when he was on the Sixers. I thought he was the best player of that group, and I thought of all. You know, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, certainly. I thought Jimmy Butler was the one guy that the Sixers should have held on to. And it turns out I was right because he is the best player. He was the best player on that team. And he's now in a stronger system, a better system in Miami with better coaching. He's proven to be a legitimate superstar. And I think with the team that's around him, you know, there was a little bit of a Cinderella feel with them, with the Miami Heat this year. I don't think that it was an anomaly. I think that they're a tough team. I think led by Jimmy Butler. I think mentally and physically they're a tough team. You know, Tyler Hero is not going to be a rookie next year. Dragic is going to be back. You know, Bam Adebayo all of a sudden is a full-fledged superstar. And I think Jimmy Butler is the ringleader of that whole success group. So
I like Jimmy Butler. I think they're the Heat. I'm going to pick them, I think, as my number 4 team overall coming into the season. So I think the Heat will be good, but I don't have Jimmy Butler in my top 10. And it's not really so much a knock against Jimmy Butler. I just think I like these other players a little bit better. So my number 9 guy is Jason Tatum.
Actually, my number 9 guy is also Jason Tatum.
and honestly, with number 9 and number 10 guys that I picked, I think they could have been easily swapped out with someone else. Jason Tatum is just the guy I just really like his game. I think that's really boiled down to it. I look at Jason Tatum. I was like, I really like the way he plays basketball. I like his efficiency. Last year, his average went up to 23 points, 23.4 points per game, 7 rebounds per game. He's going into his 4th year, and I think he's ready for a monster breakout season where he might get close to 30 points per game. I'm expecting really, really big things from him, and also just the fact that he's been the best player on a winning team for basically all 3 years he's been in Boston. I just love Jason Tatum.
Yeah, I think that he had a little bit of a bad showing on a big stage last year when they lost to the Heat. I thought that the Celtics were a better, more talented team from top to bottom. And I think that they just got, out-muscled, basically. And I think Jason Tatum, he had a couple big shots that if he had made them, probably would have propelled him into another stratosphere in terms of how we viewed him. But, he's still young, and it's still a process. And I think with Brad Stevens, Brad Stevens at worst is a top 5 coach in the NBA.
Yeah.
So I think Jason Tatum is going to be even more of a superstar, even though, it seems like some of the teammates around him, Kemba Walker, most notably, seems like I've seen a lot of rumors that he's going to be traded to various teams. Yeah. The Clippers, there's a rumor about the Clippers. There's a couple other ones. I'm not sure how substantial they are, but it just seems like the stage is being set for Jason Tatum to be center stage. And
if you're a team that gets called by Danny Ainge to trade Kemba Walker, you hang up the phone right away.
Danny Ainge or Jerry West, you
hang up the phone immediately. You do not accept that trade.
So the answer is no, whatever you say. But all right, so let's move on quickly to the. We did the same thing for the top 5 teams we thought going into the season. So now I want to go through, teams 6 through 10 this week.
Okay. All right. Well, my top team, or my number 6 team that I picked, let me just get to the page really quickly here. I picked the Raptors. They were 53-19 last year. Didn't really get better in the offseason. And I'm not really in love with the Van Vliet re-signing, but you still have to respect, they have Pascal Siakam back. They have Kyle Lowry back. You have to respect this team as what they did last year. They're going to battle for the number 4 seed in the East.
Raptors are my number 9 team, actually, and for all the reasons that you said. And Nick Nurse might be one of the only coaches that I would consider better than Danny Ainge at this point. Or Stevens, rather. But the Raptors are good. I don't think they're great. I think the Van Vliet signing is questionable. I think his ceiling is. I think he's pretty much hit his ceiling.
Fair.
But my number 6 team is the Milwaukee Bucks. For a lot of the reasons that we said, you can't argue with their regular season success. They're basically the best team in the regular season the last couple of years, and it's just they stumble in the playoffs. And I think that if they can finally get over that hump, they're going to be unbelievable, but they're not there yet.
Yeah, I had the Bucks higher on my list than that. I think I had them as number 4 team or number 5 team, something like that, last week. But I'm going to move on to my number 7 team. It's the Clippers. They feel like, to me, like a big kid in the yard who got knocked in the face by a really small kid, and now you're kind of looking at them like, wait a minute. He's not that big after all. And so some of the shine, some of the intimidation or whatever, I'm not sure the word I'm looking for, has kind of fallen off of them. And they did bring in Serge Ibaka, who's okay. The loss of Montrezl Harrell, I think it's going to be pretty big for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I still like them as a decent team. I think they'll be in that middle of the pack of sort of battling for that 3, 4, 5 seed in the Western Conference, but I don't see them really going super far this year.
Yeah, the Clippers were my 5th team last week, so I agree with everything you said. I think that you and I seem like we have the same feelings about the Mavericks and Bucks, just in inverse order. So, the Clippers made my top 5. My number. So Bucks were 6th team. Number 7 for me was actually the Denver Nuggets.
Okay.
I think that this team, they were the Cinderella team of the West. Jamal Murray, I'm very curious to see what he does for an encore performance this year. Nikola Jokic, just the best passing big man I've ever seen in my life. And, if they can get something from Michael Porter Jr., anything resembling what he was supposed to be coming out of high school, I think that this team could prove that they weren't just a Cinderella story.
I completely agree. I have the Nuggets as my number 5 team, and I talked about them last year. All the same things you said. They've got all the pieces to get better. Their core is still young, so there's still space for them to get better. Nikola Jokic may end up going down as the greatest passing big man in history. So that's how good he can be. Yeah, this team has all the tools to go back and make another run. My number 18 are the Dallas Mavericks. Now, once again, we have differing opinions on them.
Disrespect.
This is a tough team for me because outside of Luka Doncic, I'm not in love with any of their other players. Porzingis is an okay player. I think he's soft, just like I think Luka Doncic is soft. I think he can get easily pushed around and knocked around, and I feel like in the regular season they may do some things, but in the postseason I just feel like they're going to get knocked around and out physicaled, and I don't know. I think unless Tim Hardaway Jr. is a career 42% shooter, I don't know. I'm not seeing this team taking a step forward unless someone not named Luka plays better than they did last year.
I mean, the only thing I'll say that because I talked about them last week, that the Mavericks were my number 4 team. I think Luka is that player, and I think he has enough. He's special enough where I think he elevates everyone around him. And, Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to take a step forward in my opinion. I think Porzingis, if he stays healthy, is going to be. I mean, Porzingis was. Keep in mind, during the playoffs, he was averaging. I was like 20-something points a game. But again, then got hurt, of course. My 8th team is actually the Portland Trailblazers. And this team, it feels like this team is like one piece away.
Yeah.
CJ McCollum, obviously Damian Lillard is a bona fide superstar. Melo seems like he's found a nice role if they bring him back. Nurkic is good, not great. Enes Kanter, I think, is very underrated. And it just seems like that this team could, if they could catch lightning in a bottle, and that lightning's name is Damian Lillard.
Yeah, I actually have the Blazers as my number 10 team. I agree with everything you said. They also added Robert Covington.
That's right.
So they added him as well. It doesn't feel like it's enough, but Damian Lillard does have that special magic. I think if they want to get back to the Western Conference Finals or do better than they did this past season, they're going to need both Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum playing at incredibly high levels for the entire season. And it just feels like one or two of them, mainly McCollum, goes into these cold spells. And I think what they're looking, which you're right, what they're missing is kind of that interior presence where you can just get some easy buckets. It feels like they're just always trying to launch 3-pointers, and it just doesn't work unless you're red hot. My number 9 team is the New Jersey Nets, or the Brooklyn. Sorry, oh goodness, the Brooklyn Nets. This is a benefit of the doubt pick, because if you take a playoff team and then you add Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to that team, you would have to think that team gets better. But we don't know what the KD and Kyrie show is going to look like. I've been seeing video of Kevin Durant practicing. It looks good. It is just practice, and I'm sure they're not going to send video of him looking bad out to the public to see.
Sure.
So, but like I said, it's a benefit of the doubt pick. I'm just taking the Nets and assuming that they're going to get better because they added one Hall of Famer and one really, really good player.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would really qualify the Nets as a true playoff team. They kind of just snuck in there with.
I mean,
I mean, they snuck in through the back door. I don't know, but they're a good team. They were a good team, but
they were number 17. They were number 7 seed. That's not, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, they were okay. I think that adding Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant not playing in 2 years. I mean, I'm very interested to see what he does, if he can be even remotely close to what he's been. And with Kyrie Irving, this could implode just as easily as they could explode. And I'm curious to see what that is. My number 9 team. Well, actually, we already talked about the Raptors, so I'll just jump to number 10. My number 10 team is the Utah Jazz. And the Utah Jazz, I think, they kind of got snubbed a little bit. The Nuggets beat them. We saw Donovan Mitchell's coming out party. Rudy Gobert, the last defensive big man in the league, really. We saw Bogdanovich go out with thumb surgery. And Mike Conley Jr. showed up and started playing pretty well. So I think that this team, I don't think they're a great team, but I think they're really, really good.
I can get behind that. I think the Jazz are one of those teams that were on the bubble of making my top 10. The Jazz were right there. The Phoenix Suns are kind of right there because I think the improvements. But yeah, I like the Jazz. I like that pick. I don't really have any negatives against them. Rudy Gobert probably needs to improve his offensive game if they want to take another step forward. That's what I would say. All right, so we have our top 10 teams and we have our top 10 players.
Yep, so that'll do it. We'll talk more NBA next week because we have to get back into mid-season form because the season's starting literally in a couple weeks. So that's going to be exciting. We do have to take a break right now, and we have to come back and switch back to the NFL. We have to go over our Week 13 picks. We have our Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is, see how we did on our sports bet. We have to make our sports bet for Week 14, and we have to make our Week 14 picks. So stick around. We'll be right back with that right after this.
If you're sick with COVID-19 or think you might have it, take steps to help protect other people from getting sick. Stay home except to get medical care. Call the doctor before visiting. Separate yourself from others who live with you. Wear a cloth face covering to protect others. Cover your coughs and sneezes with a tissue and clean your hands right away. Avoid sharing items with other people in your home. This includes things like towels and bedding. Be sure dishes are washed in hot water or the dishwasher before anyone else uses them. Stay aware of how you feel. If you start to have difficulty breathing or if you're worried about your health, call your doctor. For more tips, visit cdc.gov.
Welcome back to the Benchwarmers podcast, where being all talk is actually a good thing. Now, back to the action. Or talk, I guess.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. I am still Lou Ruggieri. That is still Jose Ortiz. And this is still the Benchwarmers podcast. Ripping right through our show. This is, what is this, week 34 for us, I think, Jose. We're going strong. You can follow us along iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or you can follow us along on social media. We are on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, the Benchwarmers Podcast, at the BW Pod on Twitter, and the Benchwarmers Podcast at yahoo.com, Benchwarmers with a Z. So feel free to follow us along on any one of those formats, whatever you so choose. However you're doing it, we don't care. We just appreciate you spending it with us. Top 5 news stories we touched on in the NFL, along with some other news and notes from the NFL in the first hour. Make no mistake or give me a break. Our true false segment we touched on. You can go back and listen to that if you'd like. Highlight and lowlight of the week. We just got through our rounded out our top 10 players and teams in the NBA. That was interesting. I actually, Jose, I cut you off earlier. You had a 10th player that I unintentionally I lost count because I'm stupid.
That's okay.
Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns, I believe, was your 10th player.
Yeah, I'll just quickly say Karl Anthony Towns, we're going to the NFL now. Look up his stats. You'll be completely surprised.
So that was your I just want to get that out because I felt stupid when you told me that. And I was like, oh, wait, I didn't realize I did that.
Guy's averaging like 26 and 12. It was just like, I was looking at it, I was like, how do I not know about this guy? Oh, he's in Minnesota.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. On to the NFL.
Well, moving forward, so I just wanted to touch on that. So we'll have more NBA talk next week.
Yep.
Now we have to look back on our week 13 NFL picks, see how we did. We have a touch on our sports bet. I think I covered again, which I'm excited about. And we have to make our week 14 picks. So let's recap.
You were on fire, 8-5. You approved the 8-5 Packers cover. You picked the Packers -9 over the Eagles. Packers covered that. Of course, I lost again. I'm 5-8. I picked the Cardinals +1.5 over the Rams. That was a mistake. So my pick this week, I'm just doing whatever. I'm Saints -7.5 over the Eagles on the road.
I mean, I feel like that's safe. I
have no idea.
That defensive line for the Eagles might be one of the best in football.
I still assume the Eagles even scoring. That's really what I'm looking at. How are the Eagles going to score?
I think that the disparity between the Saints offense and Eagles defense is not as great as the Eagles offense and the Saints defense is. So I think you might be on point with that. I'm going with the Texans. Texans are -1 at the Bears, and the Bears are they're on a downward spiral, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better anytime soon. And I think the Texans, after that heartbreaking loss to the Colts this week, I think that Deshaun Watson's going to come out firing, and I think that they're going to smack the Bears around, and it's going to be way more than a 1-point victory.
Completely agree. I love that pick. So for our week 13 picks, you had a great week. You went 10-4.
Boom.
I went 8-6.
Nice.
And once again, for like the 7th time this year, we're tied. 114-53-1. We both have a record of 114, 53 losses, and 1 tie. Damn those Eagles. Yes. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and run through these picks.
Yeah, let's get through it.
Thursday Night Football, Patriots at Rams.
So these are picks, just wins and losses, and no points, no nothing. So that's what the put your money where your mouth is for. So I'm going to go with Patriots Rams. I'm going to go Rams. I said it last week. I didn't like picking against Bill Belichick with rookie coaches, but I think that this Sean McVay is not a rookie anymore, and neither is Jared Goff, and they're just a better team top to bottom. I think Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald make Cam Newton have a pretty bad day.
Yeah, I absolutely picked the Rams here. The Rams are a legit team, well-rounded. I don't think this is going to be close.
Yeah.
Texans at Bears. I'm assuming your pick is the Texans based on you picking them.
Yeah, all the way.
Yeah, taking the Texans as well. I don't know how you just can't pick the Bears anymore. They can barely score.
They might not win another game.
Here's a fun game. Cowboys at the Bengals.
Oh, God.
I don't even know who to
Dalton
pick.
revenge game.
Oh, my God, that's right. I don't even know who to pick here.
Give me Andy Dalton showing up AJ Green that he still got it, even without him.
Yeah, I guess you have to pick the Cowboys. I mean,
I don't
know. The Bengals don't even have is Ryan Finley their starter? I don't even know who their starter is right now.
I don't know who's starting next week.
All right. Chiefs at Dolphins.
See, this game should be easy, but it's not. And I think that
it's
the
easy
Dolphins
for me.
You're picking the Chiefs. I know that.
Yeah.
I feel like, just we've seen the Chiefs kind of play down to their competition and let teams hang around. And I feel like a team like the Dolphins, I can't do it. I want to take the Dolphins so bad. I can't do it. Give me the Chiefs. I can't. I thought I was going to talk myself into it. Didn't happen.
All right. Cards at Giants. This is a tough game. This is a tougher game than it sounds like.
I mean, we just saw the Giants beat the Seahawks, who I think are a better team than the Cardinals.
And it wasn't, I believe it was in Seattle as well. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I think it was in Seattle.
I think I'm going to go with the Cardinals because I think that was an anomaly. I think the Seahawks just ran into a buzzsaw and a bad matchup. I think the Cardinals are going to have a comeback this week. I think, they lost to the Rams, and I think they know that their season's basically on the line. So I think they're going to come out firing. I think Kyler Murray is going to have a little bit of a revenge tour.
Yeah, this is a tough game to pick. For a lot of the same reasons you're saying, I have to take the Cards as well. I can't pick the Giants to win. And Wayne Gallman is your starting running back right now. Colt McCoy is your starting quarterback. I can't pick them to win.
Yeah, it's tough.
All right, Vikings at Bucks. Suddenly a tough game. Suddenly an interesting game.
I'm going to go with the Bucks. I think if the points were involved, I think I might take the Vikings. But I think the Bucks defense is going to win this game for them.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bucks as well. Coming off of a bye, it just feels like the Bucks are, and then the Vikings just struggled with the Jaguars. So Give me the Bucks. All right, Broncos at Panthers.
Oh man,
I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna just to add something really quickly to add a little context. The Panthers just had like 8 players go on the COVID reserve list, including DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. And so I think I'm leaning the Broncos here. I'm not saying Christian McCaffrey is coming back for the Panthers this week, but I'm leaning Broncos. I think
I'm gonna take the Panthers still. Okay. I think Drew Lock is not the answer, and I think he's gonna prove why one more time.
All right, our first difference.
Yep.
Titans at Jaguars.
Again, another game that should be easy, but makes me think. I'm gonna go with the Titans because you got to go chalk on that one. But the Jags, the Jags are an uppity team. They have heart. I'll give it to them. Not enough to pick them to win. But
yeah. How about the Colts at the Raiders? Oh, I'm taking the Titans as well. How about the Colts at the Raiders?
Wow, I mean, the Raiders have had a bad couple games. I mean, they got routed by the Falcons. They almost were upset by the Jets. The Colts eked out a win over the Texans that they had no business winning, and on the heels of a Deshaun Watson fumble at the last minute. I'm going to go with the Colts because I think they're just a better team. I think it's nice to see T.Y. Hilton coming out of witness protection. It was good to see him again. Michael Pittman looks like he's finally figuring it out, and Phillip Rivers if he has good weapons to throw to, he can be serviceable.
Yeah, the Raiders can't stop anyone on defense. That was what I noticed last week more than anything. The Colts have a pretty good defense and a capable offense. So yeah, give me the Colts.
Yeah, DeForest Buckner. Yep. Change that whole personality of that defense.
Of course. Jets at Seahawks.
I guess give me the Seahawks. I'm not as happy about it as I would have been a couple weeks ago, but
how about the Packers at the Lions?
Packers.
Yeah.
It's not close.
Yeah, that's in fact, why was that not my spread?
It's a division game,
so
it'd be closer, but I think Aaron Rodgers is just on another level right now.
I feel like I can pick this next one for you. Saints at the Eagles.
Yeah, Saints.
Yep. These next 3 are going to be tough though. Falcons at Chargers.
Wow. Falcons at Chargers.
I won't put the pressure on you to pick first this time. I took the Chargers. I just feel like it's kind of a toss-up game, and the Chargers are home. They're probably upset after just getting embarrassed. Come out and put on a show.
Yeah, the Falcons are they're just so talented on offense. And by the way, Calvin Ridley made Marshawn Lattimore look just utterly stupid in that game. Calvin really is. I think he's now officially the best receiver on that team. No offense to Julio Jones. Julio Jones is still better in terms of career, but Calvin Ridley is uncoverable at times, and it was remarkable to see Marshawn Lattimore look silly. That being said, I think I'm gonna go with the Falcons. I think because I think talent wise they're about even. I feel like Matt Ryan is almost like the future of Justin Herbert in a way. And I think that Raheem Morris is a little bit better of a coach than Anthony Lynn. He dropped the ball on a couple of plays against the Patriots. So I think with a more talented team, they're going to just fold, and they find ways to lose. And
you just triggered a question in my brain. I'm taking the Chargers, but you just triggered a question in my brain. If you are a franchise and you could draft a quarterback and that you guarantee that quarterback was going to have the exact same career as Matt Ryan, would you sign up?
Well, are you talking wins or just numbers and
wins and numbers, everything, the exact same career?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I was hoping you would say yes.
He got me to a Super Bowl, and I think that he.
Okay. Sometimes I feel like you're harsh on players that don't have Super Bowl rings, so I just wanted to hear what your thought was there.
No, that wasn't. Matt Ryan didn't lose that Super Bowl. Okay. That was coaching.
Coaching, defense, yeah. All right, last 2. Sunday Night Football. Finally, we have a good game on Sunday Night Football. Steelers at the Bills.
Wow.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm calling for the upset. I'm taking the Bills.
I will take the Steelers. I think the Steelers are going to hear all the noise. the Bills coming off a huge win against the 49ers, the Steelers getting embarrassed by a Washington football team. People are going to be saying that they were already saying that they were kind of like paper champions. And now
that's because the Chiefs were in the same conference, though.
Yeah, but I think the Steelers come out and make a statement and say, no, we're for real.
Okay, interesting. And I just like the Bills. I think that they're a real team. They're complete. They're 9-3. I just think they're a pretty good team, and they're going to be at home. I know the home field advantage doesn't mean as much, but
I think Minkah Fitzpatrick is going to pick off Josh Allen,
and I'm thinking Tre'Davious White's going to pick off Ben Roethlisberger if he even throws towards him.
Oh, it's fair. All right, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see who has more.
Our last one, Monday Night Football, Ravens at the Browns.
You got to go Browns.
Yeah.
Browns
I thought for a second you might take the Ravens because they blew out the Browns early in the season, but
I think the Browns are everything's clicking, and I think that they found their identity. And like I said, Kevin Stefanski, Coach of the Year, looks like for me anyway. So yeah, all right, so that'll do it. We have a couple differences this week, right?
We're different. We have. I'm sorry, let me just go find it.
I know we're all tied up to this point.
Yeah, we were different with the Broncos and Panthers. I took the Broncos, you took the Panthers. We're different on all of our last 3 games. Oh no, so we have 3 differences. I took the Chargers, you took the Falcons. I took the Bills, you took the Steelers, and then it was just the Broncos and Panthers. Everything else is the same.
All right.
So we'll still be tight no matter what happens this next week.
Coming down to the wire,
Yeah.
So, right. Hopefully restaurants are open so we can pay up our dinner bet on that.
Yeah.
So
I'll have to send you a Grubhub gift certificate or something like that.
Well, Uber Eats. It'll be dinner. Still technically counts. But all right. So one more time, you can follow us along. We're part of the iHeartRadio podcasting lineup, Amazon Podcasts, and pretty much everywhere else you get podcasts. Those are the 2 big ones. We're proud to be part of Amazon Podcasting and iHeartRadio. So for Jose Ortiz, I am Lou Ruggieri, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.